What's up, guys? Steven here for Off the Shelf Movie Night to talk to you about physical media, usually. You know, Blu-rays, 4Ks, DVDs, the way we like to buy and own our movies and TV shows. If you like this kind of conversation, if you're a collector or want to be a collector, you are in the right spot. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Let's keep the conversation going. So outside of just my standard physical media discussion, I am also doing a project called Pushing 100. In the project, I am attempting to see 100 new release movies in theater in 1 year. I think some people started trying to do this project back when MoviePass started. I never got around to it. Then I did try and start that project in 2020, and then of course we know what happened then. So this year I'm back at it. So far doing pretty well. Now up to this point I've been trying to do a single once a month video updating you on everything I saw that month. That video is a lot of work, and they also end up being close to 30 minutes long, which seems pretty long for a YouTube video. So I think what I really want to do is start trying to do it a few times a month, maybe give you one movie review or a couple movie reviews in each video so I can keep them to 10 or 15 minutes. Let me know what you guys think if you're cool with that, because it just seems like a 30-minute video with so much editing that I have to do, it seems like too much. So anyway, I'm talking about a movie I saw last night. It's pretty fresh on my mind. I went to my local art house theater and saw a movie called Pleasure. This movie has been hyped quite a bit over the last several months. It is a narrative film, not a documentary. It's a narrative film about a woman, a young woman, a 19-year-old woman, who moves to the United States, California specifically. She moves from Sweden specifically to become a porn star. And this movie was actually shot in 2018 and played a few years ago at Sundance and has had a pretty long road to finding its sort of theatrical and eventual, I guess, home distribution. Initially, A24 was going to pick it up, but they wanted it cut to an R rating. The filmmaker did not want to do that. And finally, Neon picked it up and is putting it out in art house theaters, and I guess we'll eventually do a streaming and physical media release of the movie. After seeing it, I don't blame the filmmaker, because love it or hate it, this movie does... Gosh, you guys, sinuses are bad today. This movie does require the nudity that it has. It's part of the story. Now, that said, I want to get something clear right away. A lot has been made of this film's explicit nature. All I can say is, if watching this movie is too explicit for you, well, then I guess you haven't watched a lot of global cinema. Because when you take a filmmaker from Europe and say that their film is way too explicit, that filmmaker automatically goes up against Gaspar Noé, whose films are much more explicit than this one. And Paul Verhoeven, to me, has even done something that's more explicit and also more successful as far as thematic elements. And we'll get to that in a minute. So don't go in, hoping for, Antichrist is much more explicit than this movie. So don't go in hoping for that. There is substantial male nudity in this film, but that's not anything new, nothing we haven't seen before. So, to get down to it, basically the story is that she meets other people in the industry, begins working in the industry, and we follow her journey. She is not necessarily someone who is about the money. A lot of porn stars, and they do make this out in the movie, are about the money. She, basically just wants to have sex, a lot of sex. And she wants to be the best at it. She wants to be a star. So, and the money comes to stardom, but her interests are more about being the best at it, working for the best company, doing the best scenes, and, having that sort of VIP position in the industry. That is what is important to her. this film tries to say a lot of things, and I like what it's going for. This is a first-time filmmaker, and you can tell, because I feel that the filmmaker got wrapped up in sort of the mechanics of the process, and lost sight of the vision that maybe she had, or maybe she didn't have it. Maybe the thematic elements that are striking me that could have been executed better were a second thought to her, because this film spends a lot of time clinically showing the behind the scenes of being an adult film actor. And I don't mean, the sexual parts. I'm talking about paperwork and STD tests and, cleaning. And she comes in feeling, the character feeling that she's street smart, only to find that she really doesn't know a lot of things. And that is one of the positives of this actress. She's a first-time actress, which I think is interesting because I think it actually helps the part. Her name is Sophia Capel, because her innocence as an actor plays into the sort of innocence of the character. The character herself, I don't think she felt she was innocent until she did her first scene, and they immediately want to cast her as the innocent girl next door type. And she plays it well. Some aspects of her, she's not, at least at this point, not nearly the actress. But something about her face and the innocence that she is able to successfully portray reminds me of young Jennifer Lawrence, that kind of thing. So this ends up being basically a reality check for her. She learns the ins and outs of the industry. She learns very quickly what it's going to take to be part of one of the more successful companies in the industry. And this movie just kind of really shows the good and the bad and the ugly of being in adult content. Now, it's funny because when the movie was made, it tends to portray the traditional kind of porn industry. It doesn't take into account OnlyFans and that kind of thing. So that's a little bit missing, but that's just dated. That's just because it took the movie so long to find a home. I think the movie had an opportunity, and it does try a little bit, to point the camera back at the viewer a little bit about a purveyor of porn, and show some sequences that are, could be titillating on one side and doing the job that porn is meant to do, while also being disturbing and sad and scary. Those emotions are properly shown in this movie. You see the wide range of experiences she has as a adult film actress, from very clinical to very, very thoughtful to aggressive and terrifying. She goes through all of those. I don't think this movie ever quite points that back at the viewer enough. It had an opportunity to. To me, there's nothing titillating about this movie. I'd tell you if there was, because we're going to talk about a movie here in just a second that is very titillating. But yeah, I feel like that was a missed opportunity to really make the viewer of the movie, who is also a porn purveyor, if you're someone who is a porn purveyor, question what is happening behind the scene that they've just watched. Is the pleasure that they get mirrored by the actual people on screen, or is it not? That could have been addressed better in the movie, I think, and it's a failure of the movie because it was such a good opportunity to do that. Tonally, this movie is a little bit weird too when it comes to its filmmaking style. There's a lot of cinema verite kind of point of view shots that are pretty well done and really get the vibe across of what you're supposed to be feeling in those sequences. But then that's mixed with some very Euro kind of art house imagery that I guess there was a purpose, but I don't feel like there was. It comes off as, ooh, let's get this pretty shot at sunset and play some opera music, because that's what we would do. It doesn't have the narrative impact that I think should have had if this is how you're going to abruptly change filmmaking styles from one sequence to the next. For me, it didn't work. Maybe for you it did work. If it did, let me know in the comments. So overall, I think this movie is okay. It does feel like a first-time filmmaker. The filmmaker actually also got a lot of real porn actors to be in the movie. So it makes, the one thing it does make is some of the sequences where people are naked, especially male actors, just have their, junk out, and it's very nonchalant. It's very matter of fact. I don't know if you could have done that without using an actual actor from the adult film world, because this is what they do. They don't think anything about having to get ready while cameras are all around watching them. So I think you had to have that. You had to have the actual actors to do those sequences. So yeah, I think in the end, I think the movie is okay. It's a little bit overhyped. It's blown up. I think that the lead actress, Sophia Capel, is okay. There's a few other actresses that I think also are okay, but it's nothing that I would say is award-winning. I just feel like there's such a missed opportunity in this movie. And there are a lot of things in here. There's a lot of, strong feminist views in here, but they come and go. The fact that the majority of the nudity in this movie is male nudity. I think that's also speaking to a thematic element in the movie, but it's never fully realized again. It's just this script, I just feel like the script needed another pass, maybe with a second writer who didn't have sort of the tunnel vision, because the director has been at this, I read somewhere, for like 10 years, this script. So you do get tunnel vision. And I think just sometimes it would be good to have someone else kind of jump in and help, because it's only that it makes me sad, because it's just on the cusp of actually doing something interesting. The director's name it's spelled Ninja, but I think it's Ninya Thyberg. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but she wrote the screenplay and directed the film. Yeah, so what did you guys think? Did you see it? And if you do see it later, feel free to come back to this video and let me know what you think. Because, like I said, it's just it ends up being an okay movie, but it could have been something really, really interesting. I was actually thinking about Paul Verhoeven's Benedetta, because he does such a great job in Benedetta of playing with the viewer's feeling about things. He shows you something really titillating. I mean, it's hot, all right? It's a hot scene, and then immediately shows you something that's disturbing. It makes you question what you previously just saw and how you felt about it. And I think when we're talking about sex, I think that's really interesting. I think that's an interesting theme that should be dove into more. And I thought that pleasure would be the perfect one to really start to question that. And it just didn't quite get there. So anyway, that's my feelings about pleasure. I will be doing a Letterboxd review. I tried to beat around the bush here, and not spoil anything specifically related to the movie for you if you should see it. But it's pretty basic in its story, yeah, and it says a lot of things, like it asks questions but doesn't actually show any answers. So that's my feeling about it. It's solidly probably a 7 out of 10. 6.5 out of 10. 6.5 I feel more comfortable with, because it's fine. It's just not as thoughtful as I had hoped that it would be, I guess. So yeah, just saw Pleasure, movie about porn in a theater with 150 other people. That was really comfortable. That was fun. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you're gonna see this, what you're seeing in theaters right now. And if you're doing the Pushing 100 with me, if anyone out there is trying to do this, let me know, because I would love to have a chat with you. I've got some back on physical media, some big unboxings coming. Eagerly anticipating my Vinegar Syndrome. As I record this, it is the 9th Tomorrow or the next day, I will be doing another tactical shopping video because we've got some sales, a lot of them, to talk about and how I think we should approach them. Anyway, till next we meet, pull something cool off the shelf, share it with friends and family, remind them why physical media is the best way to watch films and TV at home. I'll see you guys on the next one.